Hey everyone, this is Ben with RegisteredNurseRN.com, and in this video I'm going to talk about neonatal nurses. I'm going to give you the job overview, education requirements, salary information, and the likes and dislikes of this job. Now, I just made a video on labor and delivery nursing, so if you really want to work with babies, you may want to check that one out. And this is another area where you can work with babies, and it's a really popular area in nursing. So what does a neonatal nurse actually do? Well, first of all, these individuals work with babies up to 28 days old in theory. That's what the term neonatal actually refers to. It refers to the first 28 days or the first month after birth. Now, I say in theory because in practice, neonatal nurses will actually work with babies for a longer period of time than that when necessary. For example, there may be a baby born prematurely and it may have a lot of complications, and they may work with that baby for weeks, months, maybe even up to a year or two. So most of all, they usually work with babies up to 28 days old. There are 4 different categories or areas of neonatal nursing. Level 1 is neonatal nurses who deal with healthy newborns. And this is usually, some hospitals will have like a nursery set up, and the labor and delivery nurse will deal with the aspects of delivery and labor, and then the neonatal nurse may supervise and watch the baby and care for the baby in the nursery section or in another setting. But level 1 deals with the healthy newborns. Level 2 deals with those ill or premature babies. Level 3 deals with newborns that are moved to the NICU, the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, and that is of course a much more serious situation. And then level 4 is actually a new classification. There used to be only 3 levels, but the American Academy of Pediatrics actually introduced this final level, and that is for extensive care of the most critically and complex newborn situations. So those are the 4 levels. As far as what neonatal nurses will do, they'll provide surgical care, administer high-risk medications, they will deal with resuscitation, administer antibiotics, manage the ventilators, and they will deal with a lot of interesting technology that is constantly being developed and introduced to help keep those babies and those newborns alive and help them be healthy again. Now, what do you have to do? What are the education requirements if you want to become a neonatal nurse? Well, you have to be a registered nurse, or there are also some nurse practitioners who specialize in this area, but you want to be at least a registered nurse so that you can administer those medications and so forth. And to do that, you can get an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree in nursing. Once you get that degree, you'll sit for your NCLEX RN examination. When you pass that, you're a licensed registered nurse. Now, as far as getting hired on to a neonatal or a NICU unit or an area where neonatal nurses are hired, generally speaking, some areas will hire you straight out of college with no experience whatsoever, and some employers actually prefer that because you have no experience, so you haven't been trained in an improper way. They can train you the right way. Some hospitals or healthcare providers actually prefer you have a year or 2 experience in a med-surg unit or maybe working in a nursery or something like that. It really depends on the employer, but generally speaking, you can usually apply directly for a neonatal nurse position, and you can be hired on straight out of nursing school. Sometimes you will have to have a certification in neonatal intensive care nursing or neonatal resuscitation. And if you need those certifications, generally speaking, the employer will help arrange that for you while you're being provided on-the-job training. So while you're working under the nurse or preceptor or whatever they call it, you'll be trained and you'll also get that certification that you need. And again, you usually don't have to have experience, but some do prefer you have experience. Now let's talk about salary information. How much money are you going to make? Well, the Bureau of Labor Statistics does not divide up registered nurses into different specialties when they provide these statistics. Instead, they're all kind of lumped together. But registered nurses as a whole earn an average of $33.55 per average in the United States as of 2014, or $69,790 per year. That's the average. Now, the good news about neonatal nursing is you do have room to earn a little bit more. For example, because a lot of will work in the NICU. If you do that, you may be eligible for critical care pay or intensive care pay. A lot of hospitals or healthcare agencies will offer that. You might make $2 or $3 more per hour than just another nurse in a different specialty. Also, if you work night shift or weekends, you're usually given a premium on the hour. So there's definitely room that you can earn a very good salary in this specialty. According to payscale.com, they did kind of segregate out neonatal nurses, and they gave a range of $46,806 to $93,609. That's sort of a range they provided. The biggest thing that's going to impact your salary is the number of years of experience you have. If you have any of those certifications, the industry in which you work, the state in which you live, that's going to be the biggest impact on your salary. But overall, if we have a lot of salary statistics for registered nurses, you can see the average for all the 50 states if you go to our website. So that's how much money you can expect to make on average in this specialty. Now, what are some likes and dislikes? What do neonatal nurses love about their job and hate about their job? Well, the biggest thing that they tend to love is that they know that they make a big difference, that they can see, they can feel it, they know they are making a difference in little newborns, babies' lives. And that is really what it's all about for a lot of these nurses. And a lot of them, I'll tell you, they would probably do their job for free if they could, because they are just that passionate about it. And they love to see a baby fighting for its life, yet they're able to provide care and bring it back to a healthy state. Another thing that they love is that they're able to a lot of times offer encouragement to family members and help them get through a difficult time and tell them, hey, you know, we're caring for your baby, everything's going to be okay, hang in there, and that sort of thing. What they tend to dislike about their job is, of course, seeing babies suffer when they have a deformity or when they have some kind of complication or illness. That can be really difficult dealing with emotionally for neonatal nurses. Another thing is sometimes they'll have to deal with extended family or family members who become extremely upset, and that can take an emotional toll on you sometimes. So those are some of the dislikes and likes about it, and that's a little bit about neonatal nursing. Now I'd like to read to you a brief story that captures some of the emotion and some of the things that you may deal with on the job. And I really like this story. Most people who have published this story, and it's been published in books and on the internet, they say that this is a true story. And I have had that confirmed in a couple different articles I read. One or two articles suggested it was a legend, or maybe that it's been kind of changed a little here and there, but a lot of sources say that this is a true story. So I'll read it to you and you can judge for yourself, but I like this story, okay? Here's how it goes. Like any good mother, when Karen found out that another baby was on the way, she did what she could do to help her 3-year-old son, Michael, prepare for a new sibling. They found out that the new baby was going to be a girl, and day after day, night after night, Michael would sing to his sister in his mommy's tummy. The pregnancy progressed normally for Karen, but then the labor pains came. Every 5 minutes, every 1 minute, but complications arose during delivery. After hours of labor, a C-section was required. Finally, Michael's little sister was born, but she was in serious condition. With sirens howling in the night, the ambulance rushed the infant to the neonatal intensive care unit at St. Mary's Hospital in Knoxville, Tennessee. The days inched by, and the little girl's health grew worse and worse. The pediatric specialist told the parents the one thing that no parent wants to hear. He said, there is little hope. Be prepared for the worst. Karen and her husband contacted a local cemetery about a burial plot. They had fixed up a special room in their home for the new baby, but now they had to plan a funeral. Michael kept begging his parents to let him see his sister. I want to sing to her, he said. After 2 weeks in intensive care, it looked as if a funeral would come before the week was over. Michael kept nagging about singing to his sister. But kids were not allowed in the NICU as a part of that hospital's policy. But Karen made up her mind. She would take Michael whether they liked it or not. She thought, if he doesn't see his sister now, he will never see her alive. So she dressed him up in an oversized scrub suit and marched him into the NICU. He looked like a walking laundry basket, but the head nurse recognized him as a child and said, "Get that kid out of here now! Children are not allowed in the NICU." That motherly instinct in Karen rose up, and she glared into the head nurse's face, her lips a firm line. "He's not leaving until he sings to his sister," she said. Karen toted Michael over to his sister's bedside. He gazed at the tiny infant losing the battle to live, and then he began to sing. In the pure-hearted voice of a 3-year-old, Michael sang, "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray." Instantly, the baby girl responded. The pulse rate became calm and steady. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Her strained breathing soon became as smooth as a kitten's purr. Michael's little sister relaxed as a healing rest seemed to sweep over her. Tears conquered the face of the bossy head nurse, and Karen glowed. The very next day, the little girl was well enough to go home, and the funeral plans were scrapped. Woman's Day magazine called it the miracle of a brother's song. The medical staff just called it a miracle. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.